We can't hear him.
Good morning, everyone.
I hear music. Yeah, I hear it.
Ah,
What's up?
how's it going?
Pretty good.
Cool.
Yeah, good.
All right, so this time I'm gonna try letting the music play very softly in the background. I feel like it makes the video like more watchable.
Yeah, and also put yourself in do not disturb mode so you don't hear the Discord in the background.
How do I do that?
You go hover over your name in the corner, bottom left, where it says Josh online, down. Yep, and then click, and then where it says online,
Don't bother
do
me.
not disturb.
Oh, cool. I'll leave that on all the time. Great.
That's what everyone does.
Okay, so
Kind of like the no bug reports thing. Don't bother me.
I didn't say no bug reports. I like bug reports.
No,
I'm
joking,
very
yeah.
happy when I see bug reports. The bugs make me sad, but the reports make me happy. Okay, so with that said, I'll show you. I guess I'll start with the bug reports. We had quite a few last week. I didn't get prefabs done until yesterday, but they're mostly there. We had a number of bug reports that you guys brought in, which is great. I'm very happy that you report those. And I especially want to point out Drake Black has been extremely helpful here. He was able to isolate a couple of problems that we were having, and because of his good work isolating those, once I was able to produce the bug, it was very, very easy to fix that. So I don't think he's here today because he's in a time zone that's not convenient for these meetings. But big shout out to him, and check out his game. Let's see.
I'll find it.
Quake Tactics. This is what he's working on. Let's get some of the later videos. Yeah, this is looking cool. It's like a turn-based Quake game. It's a really great test of the. I'm gonna stop this in case I get like tagged by YouTube or something for the sound, or I'll just turn the sound off. It's a really great test of the plugin system because it's actually using the plugin system to load all the content from the original Quake game. So he's not actually like converting these models into GLTF or anything. He's just using the plugin system to load them and all the sounds and the pack files and everything. So definitely check that out, and a big thanks to him for his help making very nice bug reports that, for his own stuff, and he was also helping me with some other people's problems. So the prefabs are working now. Basically, the only thing is they're not gonna. If you have a prefab that has children in it, they're not going to correctly sync up in the model file. But they do basically work, and I think I'm going to spend. I think I'll probably have them done either today or tomorrow. What I'm going to do is, since I'm in like editor and bug reports mode right now, and it's kind of difficult for me to like switch back and forth. I'm going to stick with that for a couple of more days, and then I'm going to go back to what I was doing at the beginning of 2 weeks ago, which was graphics. I spent after last week's, I guess that was 1 week ago. So anyways, after last week's meeting, I spent 3 days on the graphics stuff that I was working on, some refactoring there to make Ultra more compatible, solve some of our AMD issues, and just generally give me a better foundation to build on. And here's what I can tell you a little bit more about it, and this is what I've come up with.
Can I say something about the prefabs? I tested them and they missed the components. And also if you save the scene, they are not there anymore. or the model is there, but the in the editor the prefab itself is not there anymore.
Okay. Well, I just got the first build out yesterday, so I'll definitely be able to take a closer look at that today. And yeah, I'll definitely investigate it in more detail. Let's see. So what we have... Okay, so on the left, this is basically what the rendering thread looks like right now. You've got my own rendering code. This is all in the rendering thread. And then the graphics API Vulkan is down here. And the rendering thread is fairly complex code, and Vulkan is very complex code. And they're talking directly back and forth to each other. And that's kind of a visual representation of what's going on. And the work that I'm doing is I'm basically creating my own graphics API here. That's what this this render core thing is. And that way it's the thing is, like, with a modern graphics API, it doesn't have to be complicated. Graphics APIs, they actually should have gotten simpler, because not more complicated, because a modern graphics API doesn't have any concept of like what a light is or what a camera is. It just passes data and a few commands. But the number of commands you need is actually like very, very small. All the rendering, all the actual 3D rendering work is done in shaders nowadays. So there's not really any reason for a graphics API to be complicated. And so I'm sort of creating this as this is sort of similar to the GLTF situation, where you have a standard and the rendering code has to adhere to this standard. It feeds data into this, and then the graphics API talks to this, and you have this clean separation of like basically driver code and rendering code, because Vulkan is basically it's not really a graphics API, it's really a driver API is a more accurate way to describe it. So having this clean separation, I think, is going to make a big improvement in everything. And I'm actually like quite far along with it. I don't know if it's even going to take until the end of the month. Maybe with like final testing and stuff it will, but it's going very, very well. And that's all I can say about it. Well, a couple more slides, but it will have good effects. So the Ultra Engine Render Core class, it's a simple graphics API with less than 40 commands. It's underneath, it's API agnostic, but it's structured in a way that it's compatible with Vulkan, Metal, DX12. It doesn't have any 3D concepts in it. It just transfers data and it relays commands to the graphics API. The debug build performs extensive error checking on top of the already built-in error checking that we have. It handles all the data synchronization, which is that's a big issue in modern APIs. Data synchronization can be a pretty big challenge. So having it like compartmentalized like this makes my life much, much easier. So the engine and the graphics API never talk directly to each other, which is very important. And it's all built into one single class that can be subclassed to support new graphics APIs. Now, Leadworks actually had something like this, but in order to support a new graphics API, you would have had to create like a subclass. You would have had to create like 20 different derived classes, because we had the base class. Like in Leadworks, when you created a camera, you got back a pointer to a camera class, but it was actually an OpenGL camera. And if you created a texture, like you just saw the texture class, but it was actually an OpenGL texture. And so in that situation, it was the rendering code that was sort of subclassed and derived to make a new API. In this case, it's just a single class, so it's actually much, much simpler. So I think we could actually see this get used to do some very interesting things. If somebody wanted to add a DirectX or a software renderer, it would be not too difficult to do. And then, of course, it can be used for third-party rendering hooks. And the advantage there is instead of using just raw Vulkan code, they can use this special API. And that way, if their rendering hook is running on a different with a different API underneath, then it'll work just fine. And the syntax for this is basically, it looks a lot like, it's basically like a simplified version of Vulkan is what it looks like. You create a frame buffer, you create command, it works with around command buffers. You begin recording, you begin rendering the frame to the frame buffer, you call a draw command, you end rendering, you end the recording, and then you execute the command buffer, and then finally you swap the frame buffer to display what's on the screen.
I have a question about this.
Yeah.
When I kind of tried to make some OpenGL programs, well, I first used the direct mode, OpenGL 1. You know, you can just draw triangles. Yeah.
GL Vertex 3. Yeah. GL Begin, GL End.
Yeah. That's a direct mode or immediate mode. Then I tried the shader mode, and it was a bit more complicated because suddenly the GPU could not talk with the CPU anymore directly. But I had to send everything as a vectors to the GPU.
Right.
Does this your render core kind of make it simpler to talk to the interaction, a combination between CPU and GPU?
I don't know if it's going to be. It's not going to be as simple as like OpenGL immediate code. I mean, it's meant to be compatible with like the very latest.
Yeah. But like I noticed, I want to make the same program so that I can switch from direct mode to shader mode. So I had to make some kind of like a core between, which kind of put my commands into the paint buffer, some kind of routine which sent the whole stack to the GPU then.
Yeah, it's a similar idea to that. It's a graphics abstraction layer, but it definitely makes my life easier.
Yeah, abstraction. Yeah, like abstraction layer. That's a good word for it.
Yeah.
So will be there also some commands for drawing some shapes, like draw on cube and draw, for example, and sprite or something else?
No, this is more low level than this. The way I see this working is what you'll do is you'll create a mesh in the main program, and then pass it to your own object. Okay, so this is code that gets called in a rendering hook, and so you'll.
Yeah, I know.
You
create some render targets, and then we can inherit from it and can create, for example, an OpenGL renderer or a DirectX renderer.
If you subclass the class that has all these commands and fill in all of the commands, then you can just pass that to the engine when it's initialized, and then it'll just work. And it's not like an impossible task. It's only I think it's only got like 35 commands.
Yeah, the reason is because not everyone has maybe, for example, Vulkan or something else, like that you can have a fallback if Vulkan is not available, that you can use OpenGL, for example.
Yeah, that's one possibility.
Oh yeah, and one thing I noticed when I make this kind of also this similar abstraction layer, that I can optimize the commands. So instead of every time doing like begin something, end something, I could actually skip some commands because they weren't needed. So I had to like less code to send to the GPU.
Yeah, this is really about optimizing the user experience. I think under the hood, I don't think it'll make any difference for like. I think it just makes it's a lot easier than just dealing with raw Vulkan code. And that way I can, like, if there's a problem, I can sort of like all my synchronization is in one place instead of it being like all over the place like it is here.
Yeah, but in the end, like DirectX and OpenGL and Vulkan are just like APIs, drivers of the GPU. So maybe in future there will be also an even better API than Vulkan. And so you could then actually implement that into your abstraction layer.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to to have that flexibility there. If we add Mac support, we might consider going directly through Metal or through Molten VK. I don't know yet, but I do think it's a good idea to have it more compartmentalized like this.
Oh yeah, and this makes it possible. You could actually make an Ultra work with OpenGL or like an OLED platform.
Yeah, you could even do like a software renderer, which would be, I think that would be very interesting to see.
Yeah,
There's
like ASCII character 3D or something like that.
yeah, you could do that. But there's a software renderer. I posted a link to it somewhere on the forum. I thought it was very interesting. I was actually using it at one point to generate the thumbnails for in the editor, but I got rid of it. I think it's called Tiny. It's called Tiny something. I didn't use it. I didn't end up using it because it was too difficult to get the to get that software renderer to get the exact output that our PBR shaders do. So I didn't like that it was making things like, the thumbnail didn't look like the real model, but it still would be just like an interesting project to see like how well it works. I think it would be fun. So that's pretty much all I've got this week. Just like, bug reports, which fortunately there were some scary ones, but those got swept up. And like one of them I just solved this morning. There'll be an update out later today with that and some other things. And then prefabs are most of the way done. They still need some work, and that's what I'm going to work on next. And then after a couple of days of doing that stuff, then I'm going to switch back over to rendering code. And also I was able to add in the shift to holding the shift key and then dragging in order to duplicate an object.
Yes, thank you. I want to add to that. Is there a way you or I can make an extension so when I press either click into the brush or a key on my keyboard, I can switch back and forth from translation to scaling? Because I do that a lot.
So just like a hotkey that controls those?
Well, in LEDWorks, because in LEDWorks you can change from transition, rotation, and scale by clicking into the brush, and that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like it is faster. I'm happy to finally see it, but it's not as fast as LEDWorks because I don't have that. And I also one day would like to see my numbers, my measurement numbers too, so I know how big or small I'm making something.
Yeah.
And one thing which is interesting is showed some commands. You can enter in the editor some commands and it creates some kind of cube or model, but those are not documented anywhere. So maybe it's using Lua or something, but editor can be also programmed with some script. And maybe that would be good. Like a Blender has Python as a scripting language, or maybe editor could have also some kind of like Lua scripting language.
Well, my problem is that how I shell out a level. I usually just take one brush and I just duplicate it, and then I just click into it. I scale it to where it needs to be scaled, and then I duplicate that brush, and then I just make everything out of one brush. I never make new brushes. Usually, everything's usually a copy of a brush. I just find that way faster.
Yeah. So there's the API here is just it's just the full Ultra Engine API you can enter, and then on top of that, there's also some presently undocumented things that you can use for extensions, and we're still sort of like figuring that out, how all of that is going to work. But it is quite powerful. I think the best way to I'm hesitant to commit to documenting that stuff until it's until we really understand how we're going to use it. And I think the best way to figure out how we're going to use it is to, instead of trying to come up with some abstract system that we think will solve everyone's problems, I think the best way to do that is to just build extensions and then figure out what we need along the way for like real problems that we have. So that's why a few of us have been in the extension subforum. We've been doing that, and
I think the best way is to like put something out there, and then since it's just raw Lua code, let people say, oh, if this does this, then I can make it do this. And that's what I did with my extension of your GLTF conversion. I'm in the extension, so you just right click on an image and just converts an image to a texture, and it'll convert it to the correct format based on what it is, or the suffixes. I haven't posted it, I finished it today. But
well,
it's
you gotta
really
post
fast.
it. We can't use it if you don't post it.
Okay,
do you?
I will post it.
Why aren't you
now.
posting it right now? Why isn't it posted already?
Okay. Because I just finished it.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a good reason.
Also, I didn't test normal maps and height maps, so.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely. And like, Klepto has his Polyhaven browser extension was a very, that was a really interesting one, because we learned like a few things, and then it's just like, I'm adding things in based on like what you guys are trying to do. So that's great. I'll definitely check out your extension when it's ready. No pressure.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna put it up now because I don't have any normal maps to convert, and since it's raw Lua, if someone finds a problem with it, they can just fix it. And
yeah. Cool. Awesome.
so,
Okay. So,
Yeah. Like, I see where Rippler was coming from, and still want to emphasize that when you give users the power to make scripts, they can actually collaborate and make stuff for you, and then they work, and then you can check them out. Okay, it works fine, but then you can say, okay, I can make that even better.
yeah, and the best.
You can kind of repeat the work for you as a team, collaborate.
Well, yeah, that's great, and also the best aspect of it is when you have again, it's a layer of abstraction, so you can add infinity new features to the editor, and we can keep the same like really tight, focused core functionality. But we can add new functionality to the editor, and we're not increasing the technical debt, because technical debt is a serious issue. That kills companies. So that's the modular, plug-in nature of the extensions is really fantastic, and it allows people to like experiment with new things that I probably wouldn't get to otherwise, and you can customize the user experience to your own liking. So yeah, I think this was your guys' idea, by the way. I didn't want to do this originally.
Yeah, I agree. The concept that keep the core as clean, as tiny, efficient as possible, because that's what Linus Torvalds, also head of Linux. Linus said that the core of Linux is too bloated nowadays. You did something wrong. You should not have developed anything more than this. What is EDF3? What is the file system tree? It was the best, and after that, it was just bloated.
And yet they still don't have a GUI. This was your guys' idea, and you really like forced me to like think about this. And so the way Lua is integrated is the outcome of this, and I'm really happy. So thank you for like prompting me to design something like this. I think it's great.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Lua is the best solution. It's a kind of alien language for many. I would rather prefer JavaScript as a scripting language, like ES6.
I don't know. I'm very happy with Lua at this time, but
all right, it's up. Actually, let me just post the raw source code.
convert image to
Yeah.
DDS. Okay. Cool. Do you want me to try it now, or should I try it? Should I? Do
You
it
can
later?
try it now. I didn't try normal maps, but But I tried just regular like textures, so. I think you have to restart the you have to restart the that's like the only bummer about this when you're like developing extensions, especially if it's standalone because it's in your program files. Like it's like, oh, like you're saving it to your program files. Like, do you want to do this? Like, yes. It's there. See, it doesn't pop off for some reason because Steam's buggy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just put it with your GLTF textures. And this is like a much faster way of generating textures, in my opinion, instead of clicking on the image, converting it.
Yeah.
And also, there's a really weird bug when you try to when you select like the wrong format and then you try to like correct it, like it gets all like messed up.
Okay, let's just move this out here so it's by itself. Oh my goodness. Convert image to DDS. My install seems to have a problem generating thumbs. It did this last week. I'll have to check that out. I might have like deleted a file or something in my Steam install. Cool. How do you choose? Okay, so it's BC7. How are you going to choose? Like if it so BC7 is great for everything except normal maps.
So what it does, it looks for extensions. Like the last thing, this is the part I didn't test yet because I had to write my own string write commands, which with the Lua string functions. And I don't know how to get your material generation data from the options menu because I really want to use this, so everything is in your environment.
Yeah.
So
those will be in the settings. Do you know how to access those?
No, that's the problem. Since everything's undocumented, I don't know what I'm doing unless
understood. Okay, I'll.
So if you know how to do it, there's a part in my code that says to do like fixed hold on. Yeah, it says to do get the conversion suffix from the editor, like in my script file.
Let's take a look at this actually.
Yeah. But there it is.
I'm always like super dumb when I'm on when there's a video.
Oh yeah.
Rolling. I'm like and I get nervous and let's see.
Yeah. So that's my image code, and then I tried yours from the GLTF, but it didn't work, so I just forced it back to mine. Up. See? Boop. Down.
To do conversion. Okay, cool.
And one thing I want to do later, I was thinking about like making additional options for converting to like have an option for basis textures, but I didn't want to like flood it with like types that the user will not use.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good that we have a plan for future cross, compatible format. At the same time, like I think, I guess ECT. I'm not real familiar with mobile compression formats, actually, but I think the ECT formats are now supported on higher end graphics cards. But basis, yeah, you're right. I wouldn't worry about it too much right now.
Well, unless you want to do what you did with Leadworks and make your own proprietary texture format.
Well, it's not just the file format; it's the compression format.
Right.
Because like BC7, I don't think it works on mobile. Yeah, I think we should just like cross that bridge when we get there.
Right. But yeah, if you have like to play with it and you have any like options to make it better, let me know because I think that is a way better, more elegant solution of generating textures than the old way.
Yeah, I think it's a great option actually. I'll use this myself. One thing I wanted to, you did start to talk about switching between modes here.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would work because you're just clicking inside the thing. That would be okay. This would actually work too because that. Okay, scaling. It like how it is how things are right now, it would not work because you're allowed to click inside this. So that would involve two changes. It would mean that if you click inside an object, and it actually.
Yeah, and select it. Yeah.
Okay, so it means that if you selected inside, if you click inside this bound, then it just wouldn't do anything. Well, I mean, it would switch to translation. That might be good. That might be good, actually.
Yeah.
Let's try it and see how it feels.
All right. Yeah, I'll definitely let you know because that's how I map. I just make one brush, and I just duplicate scale, place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that does. Yeah, that might be pretty handy. I think we can try it and see.
All right.
Also, please don't forget the gizmo.
I have not forgotten that.
You
Yeah.
can work with single viewport.
Yeah.
Yeah, for 3D models, so you know which way's forward at all times.
Yeah, for sure. I just I got slammed with bug reports last week, which is good if they're there because we got some like important issues fixed. But
All right. And before I forget, when you're in vertex selection mode, you can't select other objects in that mode. Like,
I just did it.
in 3D. Hold on, let me try it. Because I was trying to like,
Yeah, in 3D, you're right.
yeah, I think that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to select it. I find myself selecting things in 3D and then editing it in 2D. That's how I usually work.
I think the
Yeah,
reason I did that actually is because it's a little bit tricky to, like, working in 3D is a little bit tricky. And some people, actually a lot of people that I talk to who use Trench Broom, they just use it exclusively in 3D. I have sort of a,
Right.
I took like 2 years of mechanical drawing in high school, which is like, you're basically drawing out these like these engineering drawings, and it looks a lot like this. And so I had a lot of practice, like basically reconstructing a 3D object by seeing these, 3 views. But I think for a lot of people, that's not as intuitive as perhaps it might be for you and me. So we do want to keep. I would like people who choose to work exclusively in the 3D viewport to not be at any disadvantage. But that said, it might be better if we can select this in 3D.
Yeah,
Basically, if you think about it logically, your 3 perspective views kinda do the same thing as a gizmo in a 3D view. So you can, if you want to move a vertex up, you can't do that in 3D view unless you have a gizmo.
You can actually.
Okay.
You have to hold the Alt key.
Okay, the keys. Okay, yeah. But okay, gizmo would be nice.
Same thing with translation. This is something I got from Trench Broom, by the way. But yeah, a lot of people are like asking for for like a translation gizmo, which is understandable because, I mean, this is like the most basic functionality that people are used to in a lot of 3D programs. So I'm willing to compromise on that.
yeah, and I'll put it in the 3D. I think it's distracting in 2D.
Yeah, it's because in 2D it's just you grab the object and you just do what you want.
Yeah, like I understood, like the 2D replaces the gizmo. Gizmo is the 2D in the 3D.
What's that?
Yeah, the gizmo enables to move in 3 axes in the 3D view.
Right.
But okay, you can also do it with Alt keys and Control Alt Del keys and weird key combinations. But
Yeah.
maybe people want to use mouse only, so Gizmo would be nice for mouse only users.
I know. I wanted to try something different. And
But you
Okay.
can have it all. You have the both. You can have all the best of all
I
three.
think there's
You can have
some good-
keys, shortcut keys, you can have perspective views, and you can have gizmos. I mean, it doesn't harm, it's just an edit.
Yeah. I agree. I think like the final 1.0 version, I think we'll have like a gizmo that appears here when you're moving something around.
I think there's some open source Gizmo. I'm Gizmo or something it's called. So you can easily include this, I think. It's from I'm GUI, but it's a standalone thing from and should work pretty easy.
What do you mean, like the 3D model itself, or?
No, the Gizmo. Wait, I write in the chat.
Well, I mean, it shouldn't. It's not going to be very difficult to program. I don't think.
Yeah, I think you had a Gizmo system, and it loaded like a GLTF model.
Yeah, but with this system you get much more gizmos, so you can switch between gizmos, for example.
Yeah, of course, you have different. You have rotation gizmo, scale gizmo, translate gizmo, and okay, they look a bit different.
12 different
Some have
gizmos or something.
curves around them. Yeah.
Okay, if you want, if you'd like, then please post a topic in the suggestions forum, and then I'll be able to take a look at that in more detail. I'll definitely check it out, though. It sounds interesting.
I posted also in the thing. I posted in the chat. I will also post it in the forum.
I'm gonna lower the music because your volume is pretty low. What's that?
Okay. I posted in the chat here, and I also posted into the forum later.
Okay, great. Let's see.
So you can check it out.
Gizmo, Cedric, immediate 3D Gizmo. Okay, I'll take a look.
Yeah, I really like the rotation gizmo because it tells you, it tells you like the degrees and
Yeah, but if you have a rotating gizmo, I also would rotation snap because I'm a motor coder. I want a mathematically correct rotation, not just neutral transformation, but I want to have a snap like 10-degree snaps, something like that.
Okay. So yeah, that the really bad bug that let's see, it was reported. I think this is the same bug as
My bug.
this.
The
Yeah,
rendering.
yeah. I think that's what you're experiencing because I know exactly what's happening there. It just has to do with a weak pointer in some multi-threaded code. Basically, it's losing the old world, and then in the middle of the rendering routine, the world is null, and it's going, wait, what's going on? That's what's going on, and so I fixed it this morning actually, and I haven't uploaded the fix yet for you guys yet, but that'll be available later today.
Oh, that's nice.
So that's all I've got for this week. Do you guys have any like general questions or comments or discussion?
no, I pretty much brought up everything I was worried.
I
concerned
have a
about.
question about you made a poll last time.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you now kind of doing all the things in order by the popularity of the polls?
Well, I think there were two things that really stood out, and I don't think the numbers have really changed much.
Yeah, but the question was, do you actually do these by the one poll, or do you make new polls? Like after the one thing is fixed, the poll winner is done, then you make a new poll, or how does it work?
I don't know yet.
I
But
think you said already, right, that you're making the AMD and then like 60 days later or something, the vegetation system. I think this was last week the info we got.
Yes, that's correct. That's the plan, is to basically work out the AMD compatibility stuff by the end of this month, which is where this comes in. And then vegetation system, it's very clear that that's a high priority for people. Like, and the rest are sort of like, the numbers are like, you know, if it's like 1 or 2 votes, it's hard to.
Yeah.
It doesn't really mean anything. It's just like those two issues really stood out.
I think it would be best to have a routine that after the winner of the vote is implemented, working, then you make a new vote, because also people's opinions might change. They might have new priorities. Meanwhile, so I would make after the winner is done, then make a new poll and then implement that winner.
Maybe let's just like, I don't know. Let's just like, instead of like making up a rule of how we're gonna do things, let's just do things and then figure out, you know, make mistakes and figure out what works and doesn't.
Yeah. But there are many roads to Rome, of course.
I think the biggest problem at the moment is you can make like shooter or something else, which will not be outside. But if you make a terrain, yesterday I created an island or something, and it looks really bad without any grass or something else. So you really need to have some vegetation, otherwise people will maybe get rid and switch to another engine or something.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, it's clear that that's like the most, after the AMD compatibility, it's clear that that's the most important thing to people. And what I'm doing here, this will actually make it easier for me to I'm just going to bring the Leadworks vegetation system over, basically, for like the first pass at it. And what I'm doing with the renderer right now, that will make it easier for me to accommodate that. So yeah, not like my plan, what I said last week is the same. Like, I'm going to focus on just general renderer refactoring this month, and then the plan is within, you know, by the end of the next month, we should be able to have the vegetation system working, because it is a high priority for sure.
Yes, and regarding vegetation and roads, one guy mentioned something. He was working at Ubisoft, and they were using this like company internal engine, which is not for sale, Snowdrop or something.
Yeah.
And it has a very nice system. You can just like draw roads with Bezier curves, and you can make like the terrain like snow and stuff. And snow is actually interactive. Everything is like a CSG, and you can kind of shoot. You can hit a car and the snow falls off the car and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, it's a nice engine. And you should have a look at the Snowdrop video.
Yeah, for sure. This is the screenshot I was trying to find last week. This was the road, some simple roads in Leadworks 2. But it looks pretty good. You can see like the dirt road like smoothly blending with the asphalt.
Wouldn't that be like, when you need the decal system to do that though? For roads?
Yes, actually. Roads are decals. Roads are a series of decals, basically. Yeah. And that's what the renderer thinks they are. On the engine side, there's a spline, but the spline is what decides what the decals are. So that's how I plan on doing it. And what's very cool, the decal system that I have in mind, because we have a forward plus renderer, it's possible for the decal system to modify not just the color and normal, but it's also going to be able to modify displacement. So like you can have like if like this road, for example, could put like tire tracks, like treads, depressions into the terrain, which is very cool. You could have like, a skull like popping out of a wall, and I think that'll allow a lot of really very cool things.
Yeah, I think it was me with the engine, with the Snowdrop engine. I think the snow in Snowdrop is also some kind of decals, but yeah, it's a bit more complicated in this engine to make snow, and even the snow can get to water, for example, so he can smelt, and but much.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but as I understood, the Ubisoft engine is kind of like wholly 3D editor. They make games just by dragging things in 3D, and there's no much coding involved, because all the components are connected together.
You
Oh.
can code. You can also.
You can, of course, you can code, yeah, but mostly the like 98% of the games are done just by dragging some components around and connecting them.
Yeah, in the Flowcraft editor, like we have some basic in Ultra. It's like they're the same as well, but there's a huge component library, and I think, or one of the big things in Ubisoft is all about time. So everything must go fast, and
Yeah, I think there's definitely some good ideas there to look into.
Yeah, and I was impressed by the games they have made. They made really like a high-end games, popular games, not just some random game.
I mean, Ultra's on a good way. I see some people posting in Discord. They was not that happy, I think. But people, need to remind that it's early access and you develop this engine for your own. So
Yeah. And it would be actually a kind of like a nice magnet for new users to say that we are trying to make this as good as Ubisoft engine.
Well, I
Better.
think I think our approach has always been we're the strength of my design, and I'll say the same thing about Unity. Actually, is I'm coming from the perspective of the end user, and a lot of engines are, they sort of start with the game, and then there's a lot of complexity, and the end user is sort of the last thought. So I don't mind looking at what Ubisoft is doing and taking ideas from that, but I think we're always going to be more of a, I'd say, like user friendly user. For me, the sweet spot is combining like user friendliness without compromising power too much. I mean, there's always anybody who says there's no compromises. That's not true. There's always compromises in engineering.
And one important thing to remember, what I really don't like in Unity and Godot, is that you can't program them in C++. So please always keep the engine open to raw C++ programming.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is at its simplest
Because
state.
that actually adds much more customers to your business, because then you can have all kind of business customers who don't want to 3D. They just want to process some Excel sheets and things with your engine for some presentations.
Yeah, I'm definitely not changing that. There's no plans to drop support for C++.
I think that the trend is going more towards the node editor today. So people don't want to program. People just want to connect stuff together, like you said. And I think this will be the future in game development. It's also visual. It's more clear visual. So
Well,
That's the theoretical majority of people, but there are still those deep coders who really do the code for the companies, and they don't do graphics; they just code.
I think you want to have layers, and so like your top layer is your node editor, and then your second layer is your individual components, and then your base layer is when you're actually editing main CP.cpp in Visual Studio. That's your basic layer, but you don't want to just have one layer and then it stops. You want to have some depth to it. So I think
actually,
that's kind of the approach
also
that I'm taking.
Yeah, and also one nice comparison with something like Mirror is a .NET framework. In .NET framework, you can just drag like buttons and stuff on the screen graphically, and it all gets made as code. You have the source file as C# code.
Like for
So you can
GUI
go there.
design?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
So
yeah.
you're open to code anything, but you can also drag with the mouse some kind of button there, and it's like interactive. It's graphic and code, and they both work the same way. I mean,
Well, we're building
Communication,
Ultra like from the bottom up. So it's like right now we have the strongest the support is strongest for like the low level programming. That's what most of the people who are using it right now. And I try to people who come on the forum and are like, hey, they don't sound like they're very comfortable with code. I try to like persuade them that maybe this isn't for you quite yet. But we're sort of like, I want to get the base level perfect and then build up to the component system, which we had quite a lot of discussion about that. Like the library of components we want to provide, and then build up from there to the node system. I think doing things in that order, I think it'll take a while, but when it's ready, it'll give people a really strong user experience where they can dive into it very easily and get started. But then it doesn't just like, once they want to do something more complex, it doesn't let them down. Like then they can dive into those deeper layers of development and achieve what they want to do.
Also, you can create some extensions. For example, it was also a plan of me to create this random map generator. So you could basically let us create some content also in addition for like extensions or something, right? So you also could maybe create some GUI designer. I think this would not be the problem to create a 2D designer to place a widget at the mouse position.
Like as an extension, or?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it definitely could be done.
Yeah.
I got something done. My window manager can read, for example, JSON files, which are the basic widgets. So I create JSON files and load them, and he is managing then the whole UI creation with these widgets.
And I like also like look what Microsoft's doing, because the company, Microsoft users. So I like .NET Framework. It's very nice. Like I said, you can create code by mouse. Then there was this VPF, Presentation Foundation, which is kind of flop. They kind of separated the graphical from the code. It was not good. Now they are really have to release .MAUI, which is cross-platform, and you can again code everything. You don't have to code, but you can code. So maybe also Ultra will support .MAUI in future, because you can then release your games on Android, Linux, iPhone, whatever. Same code, same code on all devices.
Everything is possible. All right, so the next few days I'll be spending on making sure prefabs are working right. I know that's a big thing that people need to be able to do more with the engine. And then after that, for the rest of the week, I'll be switching back over to rendering. Maybe I will have some more details to share with you next week about what that looks like. The plan is to get that refactoring done by the end of the month and solve some of our AMD compatibility issues. And then after that, move on to the vegetation system. That's planned to be pretty much a straight port of what we have in Leadworks. I'm not going to try to do anything too fancy right now. Let's just get it working, and then we can talk about what we want to add or modify about it after we have it working. And that should be by the end of that's planned for the end of March. So with that, any other questions?
Yes. Is the prefab in scope to have support isolated flow graph connections?
Yeah, that should work perfectly. That's the plan, because they're really just map files.
Right.
But we need to make sure that we should make sure they work. But yeah, that's
But that's in scope for.
Yes, it's in scope. That's a good way to put it actually.
Yeah, because I'm really excited about that.
What are you gonna do with it?
Well, I like to make contraptions isolated, and then we use those contraptions all along the map. So if I have like a door, I like to say, okay, set up my double doors. Let's say we could just make double doors in the prefab, and then I could just have either a relay or just like an input command saying, hey, open the door, and open both doors and play a sound or play sparks or whatever.
Yeah, this would be cool. What Reap is saying. Also, just have some inputs for the entity then, or for the scene, some scene inputs, that if you place the entity into the flow graph, that you not have all content of the entity in your flow graph, so that you have only the inputs you create in one flow graph object.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when you do the import from the prefab, I think there should be like a box around it, like with those as connections. I don't know how it's gonna look in the map flow graph, but if you're just gonna copy paste all the node information from the prefab to the map, I think there should be like a box around those connections and say, oh, this is from prefab, whatever.
Well, I'm thinking they shouldn't even appear in the scene.
Okay.
But the one thing I'm a little bit foggy on that I'm not really gonna understand how it works until I try it is let's say you've got a system of like components that are connected together in the prefab, and then you add the prefab into the scene. And you want to make map connections that feed into that system.
You need an I/O relay.
This was what I told like 2 seconds before. Some map input values, so you can create your drag and drop into the prefab flow graph. Some components or something else, which are only here for receiving inputs.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to try it and see what happens when I do it, because it's kind of hard to predict.
If you look at Source Engine, with the Func instance, they have something called Func Instance IO Proxy, and that is pretty much like the buffer between the instance and the map. That's pretty much like the connection between the map and the instance. So you might want to consider doing something like that.
Okay.
Because also like the prefab is kind of like a class in C++, so it has some kind of interface. You can like input-output interface, and it has intended also some flow graphs, but you can only access those public interface.
Yeah, that's basically what we want, because we want like some reusable like functionality that's like hidden away from the main scene and doesn't add to the complexity of it.
Right. It just exists by itself. You just see like the prefab node in the editor in the map view, and then the I/O between what it takes in and what it puts out.
You could create some. I think you define the values in the JSON, right? For the inputs for components. So you could maybe make some proprietary for each input if he is public. And if he is public, he appears in the seeding flow graph, for example. If it's inside a prefab flow graph.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. We'll try it and see what happens. Maybe it'll just work the first try perfectly without me actually doing anything. That's also a possibility. But
yeah, I mean, you're smart. You can just what the right things to do, and usually it works.
It's just I think let's put out like the first version and get it working, and then I think I'd like to like put that out for you guys and then get your feedback, and because I mean it's one thing to like discuss something that's like theoretical, but a lot of times I find like once you have it in front of you and you're actually using it, then it becomes really like the solution becomes super obvious, and it's something that you wouldn't have thought of before. So
what I mean, when you have experience in coding, doing stuff like that, you kind of get like a unconscious or subconscious intuition how to do things right, and then you kind of choose the right things.
Sometimes we'll see how good my subconscious intuition is this time. You guys let me know. All right. So on that note, I think we're that was just an hour. So unless anybody has any final questions, we're going to wrap this up.
I think I'm good for now.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, Spider Pig, for showing up so early in the morning.
That's a good. I think I'll go back to bed in a second.
All right, cool. So everyone have a good week, and I'll talk to you on the forum and on Discord, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks. Will do.
Yeah,
See you later.
Thank you.